tonight we're going to have a conversation about putting the whole child at the center of ed reform. Now, you say, what's that? And that's, it sounds almost like an oxymoron. How can you put those two things together? And the fact is that, unfortunately, with the exception of special, wonderful places like this, children's needs and their well-being are sort of on the periphery, and we need to bring them back to the center of the discussion on education reform.
One of my concerns is that education reform policies are not really interested in child observation. And the policies have revolved around determining what children don't know through some kind of standardized assessment. And what I'm finding much more interesting is this idea of watching and listening to children each and every day to see what they do know and what they are figuring out. This process is exciting and, in fact, means that the teaching process is never static. And the curriculum is always changing as the children change and as the teachers grow.
In my classroom, I have so much autonomy that you cannot find. I have time to sit back and observe my children and take notes and individualize my curriculum to meet the needs, the skill level, the interests, the passions that help my children become involved and engaged and like children.
I came to education because of social justice. And so to think that savage inequalities that Jonathan Kozol was writing about in the 90s when I was reading that and saying, there's just no way I can ignore this, is still the reason why I do what I do. I'm all about, doing long projects with children, and I'm all about listening to children. I just don't hear their voices enough.
I really do believe at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want our children to be successful. We want our children to be happy. We want them to be able to succeed in life and be fulfilled. But how they get there, I think we don't agree. And I think that's what the purpose of these conversations are about. And I also think we're not always at the same table. And so that it shouldn't be that the policymakers are here, the teachers are here, the parents get a little forum. Everybody has to come together so we can actually build a vision together.
I work in a place called the Bank Street Education Center, which really is a place that many of us really understand as a home for child as center. I mean, when I think about what my philosophy is, it's interesting because I started to kind of create a web for myself to say, well, what does that mean to me? And I think a lot of what it means is the interactions that you have with parents and family, purposeful experiences that you offer children, the respect that you give to the educator, that you give to the work of the educator, the work of the family, the work of the child, leadership. I feel like that's really key in how we respect and center our conversation for children, is to make sure that the leadership around that is speaking to that, and also teacher development. And what does that look like? There's a whole host of teacher development.
When you take a program and put it in place for thousands of children, all of a sudden, you miss so many people. So I hear people from Pre-K for All talking over here, and I feel for you because I know what you're going for, but I've sat in those professional developments, and you can't control even the many people that you get to hire. I hear what Takiema's saying about, about these professional developments and what they're going for, an authentic assessment. The way it's being employed when I go to some of those trainings is not what you're trying to say.
I feel that the lack of quality is really the problem, because Rashima's son was going to a private UPK, and the city closed it down like 2 months ago, because what they were doing was really inappropriate. So it's really quality and the lack of education, child development on part of a lot of the systems.
There can be standards that the DOE has said that they want play or whatever, but if there's not oversight and what's actually happening in the programs, that's really awful. And I guess I'm wondering, are UPK teachers organized at all? I want a union that is aligning its platform with the interests of parents and children also.
I think we have to really drill down on where the gaps are, because it's very easy to say the policymakers don't get it. I think more of them get it than we realize. So where's the breakdown happening?
The way I see it is legislators are doing what they want to do because we as parents and educators aren't speaking up enough. So the more we speak up, the more we collaborate, the more we make our voices heard and put not just the student at the center of education, but the parent and families at the center of education and communities as well. The more we speak up, the more they respond.